Welcome back. Tonight's lesson we're going to create a model. It looks a little bit complicated. A lot of times when you're new to modeling, people just want to overcomplicate things and really try to do more than what they need to do in each step. So we're just going to get started and try to do it step by step and still learning to crawl before we walk. Dimension wise, we're going to be working with metric dimensions. So our default settings are typically set up for ANSI and inch, and I'm going to show you how to change midstream when we get ready to create a model. So when we've been modeling in the past, we've usually started on the top plane. This time I'm going to start on the front plane just to kind of change it up a little bit, and let's go ahead and get started. So we got a 30 by 40 square or rectangle, so we're gonna use that to begin with on our front plane. So go ahead and create a new part, and I want to make sure that we're in the right settings to begin with. I'll look down here in the bottom right hand section, and we're in inch pounds and seconds. I can change it here relatively easy, and there's another option up here. You can come up here to the system options, and you can look at your document properties. We can change from ANSI to ISO again, and we can change our units, and here we can turn it into the same thing as we did on the bottom right. So millimeter, gram, and second. So okay, and now I look down here to the bottom right, and it is changed, so I'm pretty happy with that. Another thing that we want to do right before we get going is we want to add our material, so we don't tend to forget that at the end of this. So up here in the right hand section in our tree, this is one of these things where we have to use a right click command. So I'm going to right click, edit material. AISI 304 is going to be a steel. It's going to be about 1/8 one down, so just select AISI 304, apply and close. So now we've got our settings and we're ready to model. So select your extruded boss base. It's going to ask what face or plane we want to start on, and in this instance, you know, we were using the top plane most of the time, but here we want to use the front plane. So it should orient normal to you. I'm just going to start with a center rectangle. If you pick the wrong one, you can still change it before you come back over here to the origin and draw it. I want to make sure that I do orient it on the origin. One mouse click, pull it out, second mouse click, and now we want to dimension this thing. So smart dimension, it was 40 along the length of it, and it was 30 on the height. Clicked out in the paper space, everything turned black. I look down here at the bottom right, fully defined. I want to exit my sketch, and the length of this part was 60 millimeters. So I'm just going to type in 60 for our dimension here, and we're good. So I'm like the preview, and I accept it. Now this is where people really begin to get a little bit confused. They see all these object lines and they go into full-fledged panic mode. How am I going to create this shape? Well, we're going to do it with a couple different sketches. First off, I'm going to cut the deepest one, and then I'm going to come back and cut this radius at the end of it. So we're going to draw a triangle on our model. Everybody use Control 7 to get it in an isometric view. So extrude a cut, and I want to be on this front face here. So I'm going to select it and let it orient normal to me. Now I'm going to draw my triangle with just a simple line. I want to start up on this top left vertex. One mouse click. I don't want to come to the origin. I want to come down a little further, and then I want to come up, and I'm going to pick this right vertex, and then I need to close my sketch in with, I got a fully closed triangle. See how it's still blue, baby blue up here? So make sure that your sketch is closed in. Now use your escape key a couple times. So there's a black line up here. It's hard to see with this object back behind it, but it is. I intentionally drew mine skewed so I can show you how these things need to be related. So if you'll hold your control key down, hold control and one mouse click and a second mouse click, that automatically puts us into adding relations, and I want to make both of these lines equal. Alright, so I accept it. Well, we're still not defined, so we have to add another dimension. Well, how deep is this? This thing is coincident right here with this arc, and this arc is 20 millimeters. So is it 10 millimeters down, or is it 20 millimeters down? Where is it? Let's find out. So we want to add a smart dimension from here to here. Pull it out, place it, and it is 20. because if we drew a circle here, it should touch down here, but our circle would be 40 millimeters in diameter. So we're now fully defined and we're ready to make our cut. I'm going to rotate it around where we can see what's going on. So I'm going to exit my sketch. Now if I cut 60 millimeters, it's going to cut the entire thing. On our drawing it is 20 and 20, so it's 40 millimeters. So we'll come up here and we're going to change this to 40 on our depth of cut, and we're going to accept it. Now this is where people kind of get nervous. It's like, well, it doesn't look like my drawing. Well, we're still working on that. So we want to select extruded cut. I want to pick this front face again. I'm going to use the Control 8 command, and I come up and I pick a circle. Now I'm actually going to put the center of my circle on our midpoint line this time. So I'm going to one mouse click, pull it down. I'm not going to let it snap here yet because this is controlled by dimensions, so I don't really know, I can't guarantee that it's there. So I'm going to pull it out, place it, and I want to control this with a dimension. So smart dimension, pull it, and this is 40 millimeters in diameter. I could change it to a radius up here with our leaders and everything else in this area, but I'm just going to leave it at this because we know that 20 millimeters on the radius is 40 millimeters on a diameter circle. Alright, so we now have a fully defined sketch looking down here at the bottom right. So I exit the sketch, and we also remember that this was 20 millimeters in depth, and we hit our check to accept everything, and that's what our part looks like. So everybody use the Control 7. This is where it gets kind of confusing because you can't see this face that's back here. But when you look at your drawing, you look, and this is where this V comes from. So everybody make sure that you have your file saved in the proper naming format and submit that in our LMS.